I wanted to ask you how you found the transition because like you're a really busy guy. You're teaching at schools, you've got proams, you've got teams, you're a competitor yourself, and then all of that work has sort of changed and then I'm assuming a lot of it's gone online because I know you're teaching online classes still. Like how has that transition been for you?
Um, I guess for me, the transition has been, look, it hasn't been easy, but I guess at
Mm,
the end of the day, I always value or always try to strive towards um, being adaptable. Do you know what I mean? Like life will throw you so many curveballs, and you have to just try to find. Um, you gotta make the best situation out of everything, right? And
mm,
understand, like you, it it it's easy for people, and I understand it's very easy to focus on the negative of what you've lost.
mm,
But I guess being in this country, and also like getting my permanent residency and everything, I've realized how grateful and lucky I am. So even though
mm,
I've lost a lot of things that I could focus on, it forces you to kind of um, be creative and be like, okay, how can I, like, I'm obviously I enjoy creating things, and I enjoy, venturing off and dreaming big. Like everything that I've done, I guess I've always dreamed about, right? I've always
mm,
dreamed about leaving Edmonton, leaving Canada. I've always dreamed about going to a bigger city. I've always dreamed about doing those things. So in reality, I am doing that and I'm living my dream. So sometimes,
mm,
I guess, in this situation, it's like you now have to make new dreams. You have to, like, just in this chaos sit and let your mind drift and let your mind, like, imagine things that you've never thought you could do,
mm.
because now is the time that you have to do it. Because everything you thought about is kind of like, it's put upside down. So
Yeah.
it it's hard to do that. And don't get me wrong, I've had moments where I'm like stressed out, losing my shit, like just can we swear in this one? Okay, I'll swear
Yeah,
PG
yeah.
PG. I've stressed, like I'm human. I've been stressed out, like all those things. But I guess now it's for myself, like so I have Mumble Madness with Laura Anderson from here in Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of forced us to try to be innovative, and I've enjoyed
Let's
eating
jump
and
into that
cooking.
question. That was a question from Lolly. What was the first dance style that you learned?
Girl, I know you asking that question because you know the answer, but I will then tell everyone else. She knows. I saw her the other day, and but it's a good question. Flamenco is actually my first dance
Okay,
style.
because she's teaching it in Melbourne, right?
She's teaching in Melbourne, but
Yeah.
yeah, she's teaching it, and I mean she's Spanish, right? So it's in her
Yeah.
culture. But yeah, flamenco was my
How old were you when you
first
started
ever
flamenco?
one. I was four when I
Four.
started. Yeah. The instructor, um, look, not to toot my own horn, but my mom always said I was a really good kid until I learned how to talk back. So what that meant is I listened, I did what I was told. I didn't talk back when I was young, and I guess I had a good attention span at four. And so my mom, there is these in Edmonton. There's like these this long weekend in August called Heritage Days, and pretty much you have I think there's like 85 pavilions of different countries, and it's in this massive park where it's like in a circular park, and you have literally 85, and they will. It's
Yep.
that weekend is about celebrating their heritage. So you have food, and they'll have dances, and they'll have music of their according countries. So there was
Yep.
a Spain pavilion, and so there was this group, and my mom loved it. And my mom literally was like, "Oh, it'd be so nice for my kid to learn flamenco. Like it'd be cute. He'll have his hat, he'll have the castanets, like all those things." So my mom took me to the school, and the instructor was really hesitant because he was like, "I don't teach kids, like bare minimum is like six, I think it was, nothing under six."
Yep.
And my mom was like, "Please, like he's good." I mean, she was not going to say that now, but she was like, "Please, he's
He's such a
really
good
good.
boy.
Um, he's such a good boy." I mean, she ain't gonna be saying that now, but he's such a good boy. Just give him one day. And so he was like, "Okay, one day." And then yeah, after that day, I kept going back.
And how old were you when you started learning salsa?
Ooh, when I started learning salsa, see, this is a little blurry. I reckon that I was between 8 or 9 is when I started learning salsa.
Wow, okay, pretty young.
Yeah, between 8 or 9 is when I started. So I'm 26 now.
Yeah.
So that's 18 years almost, right? Yeah, 18 years of doing salsa. It's crazy. How about
But
you?
you
When
also,
did you start doing salsa?
this is my interview, Mario. I'm asking the questions.
Oh, shit, shit. Okay, never mind.
I'm
I
kidding.
never
I
mind.
started 8 years ago. Yeah.
Mm.
But your dance styles aren't limited to flamenco and salsa because I'm sure you've had ballroom and ballet experience as well, right?
Yeah, my dance journey has been quite eclectic as my
Yeah.
music choices are in life. But um, yeah, so I started flamenco. I went into salsa, and then during that time frame, so I've been doing salsa since I was 8. But during that time frame, I started doing ballet, jazz, contemporary, and then I transitioned into ballroom, and then I competed in ballroom for like 7 years, and
Yeah.
then back to salsa. And now it's
How old were
commercial,
you?
and
Yeah,
it's
now you're
always
doing more of the commercial stuff and the shows, yeah.
I feel like it's always salsa and something else. I realize now that I've always I have such a love for salsa that has
Mm.
actually never left. It's always been
Yeah.
in my life in some way or form. Even when I was competing really heavily in ballroom, and that would literally take all my time, I was teaching salsa. So I had my teams and I had my groups, and I that's that it was always in my life in some shape, way, or form.
Mm.
And then once it stopped for ballroom, I went back to competing salsa really heavily. And now that I moved to
Yeah.
Melbourne, it's been something else. So I don't know. I guess I truly
Mm.
love salsa. It's always been there. It's never left.
How old were you when you won your first world title?
My first world title. That one was 2010. Actually, I'm coming up. Yeah, it's a 10-year anniversary. I was 17. I was 17.
17.
17. Yeah, it was and it was actually uh, the first ever same gender category to ever happen
Was this
anywhere in
with
America.
DNA from Mexico?
No, this was with John Narvaez from Salsa Mania.
Okay,
So
yeah.
yeah, so this was just Shines,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was the first ever. It was what I was actually thinking about it the other day. It was so memorable. It was so beautiful because, um, so Eli and Yen. Have you heard about them? Eli and Yen. Do you know who they are? Yeah.
No.
So Eli and Yen or are sorry. They're the same gender couple from California, and before World Latin Dance Cup and before World Salsa Summit, there used to be only the world, well, not only, but there was the World Salsa Championships. And there was the
Mhm.
Mayan competition, the World Salsa Championships, and there was still Puerto Rico World Salsa Open. So
Mhm.
in these competitions, back in the day for people, a little bit of salsa history, there's really like only salsa. Like people would just compete in salsa. There was no like
Yeah.
on one or two cabaret, like there wasn't really that. And also at the same time, there was this couple who the story is Eli was the follower and Yen was leader, and Eli just from what I know, he always was fascinated with like the movements and the spins of women, of followers. So he
Yeah.
loves spinning and he's notoriously famous for being a really good spinner. And they decided to start entering these competitions because the rules were very ambiguous, right? There was no rules. There was no like this is only for same gender or same or different gender, whatever.
Right.
Um, and they came through a lot of adversity because a lot of competitions didn't allow that to happen. Um, so they fought a lot, not fought, but like they pretty much paved the way for some gender couples. It was
Wow.
because of
Okay.
them going to these competitions, being told no, like fighting for it, and ironically, they made like a riot, right? They protested like through their art form and through wanting to go to these events. That in 2010, um, Albert Torres at the time, who rest in peace, he was the event director for World Dance Cup. He created the same gender division, and that year was dedicated to Yen because Yen the year before, a couple months before, died.
Wow.
So it was like they created this division for them because they were the leading couple that was pushing towards having this division or towards even competing in salsa. And that year that we won, it was really memorable. I met Eli for the first time, and yeah, it was great. And, yeah,
That's quite revolutionary because if you look at, for anyone that follows the world circuit competitions, the same gender males is one of the highlights of like the whole event. That's one of the final categories, like on the showcase night at the end of the competition, right?
yeah, it's beautiful to see how much salsa competitions in the salsa world, the competing realm of salsa has evolved, and how open I think us as a community we are to having diversity and having people giving the platform for people to express their art form and how they see it,
Mm,
and accepting it. I
mm,
think we as a community are really forward thinking, like we're really accepting, and we're literally like when you watch people perform or compete or be on stage or even on social, it's like our community is so loving that we want them to succeed. Like we want them to have fun.
mm,
We enjoy watching people dancing. Do you know what I mean? That's
mhm,
why we do it. So it's been, yeah, it's I'm proud of our community. I'm super proud
mm,
of how we accept people. Um,
mhm.
yeah, let go of any like negativity in your head. Like you have to just want to have fun all the time.
Mhm.
That it doesn't matter if you want to compete or perform or just social dance. You actually just want to have fun and mentally just let go. That is, I think, the
Mhm.
best. I think for everyone, the best ever social dances, the best performances, the best ever classes are when you actually have let go mentally and you just enjoy and you let the music take your like you just engulf the music, engulf the connection with your partner or with the people or with the energy, and you literally just have fun and you don't remember what you did. You don't remember
Mm,
like you just remember the feeling of it being good. So mentally
mhm.
letting go.